Hello all. Good evening. Good morning. Just getting into a new session where just I bet you can see my screen. Thank you for joining today's session. Very interesting session on re-engineering your processes. We'll just start in a couple of minutes. Can you see me there? Not here. Yeah, good evening. Very interesting session. Thank you for being there with me. This is very interesting one because the whole world, any organization you talk about is actually going through a different phase of revolution that they're talking about. And this revolution, if we say, is where every organization gets stuck and they start thinking like where to start, where to end, what kind of pit stops you need to have, what kind of checkpoints you need to make. Overall, I say it's not something that more of a software driven. It has to be an organization driven where you actually take up the ownership of it, and then you ensure that the whole ecosystem which you want to digitize is actually going on along with you. Uh, this particular session I really wanted has been pending on me for a couple of sessions where we want to just talk about the part where how exactly to take it further, what all things that any organization should do to ensure that what is the right way of picking things up. So there are always things like there's always a budget that is planned for it versus there is something reactively that one needs to get into. It could be a planned one as well as it could be something, as I said, reactive basis of competitiveness that you have versus the advancement of the technology. If you look at the traditional way, it has always been that where organizations have looked into this particular transformation as a, uh, as an endeavor where if I say it could be an optimization opportunity to optimization versus it could be uh, automation, it could be uh, digitization as well as the process digitalization. So having said that, what let's understand from the prima facie where what exactly a digital organization means and how exactly you can uh, tag yourself as a digital organization. So to put it this way, I'll say that the important part, what we need to look into is right now is have we how exactly the baseline of the where what exactly is the baseline of the digital organization. So first thing first, like you need to make sure like you have uh, put your vision as an organization. You need to understand what exactly is the vision, how exactly you want to take up this technology. So because since it's digital, I'll talk more about the technology driven transformation. right? So myself, Kartik, I have been associated as one of the founder for the Silotech since 2015, having worked with a lot of organizations, big and small, in transforming a lot of manufacturing, supply chain, on the finance side of it, on the stakeholder management, the BI part, cloud adoption. So I have done, I'll say, even if I claim that I have a lot of experience, I still think that every second day, every next day is a new day for me. So, talking about this particular part of digital organization, if you can see on the screen, what we advise organizations is you need to have a right partner approach, because the kind of giant leap the technology has taken, it's very difficult to put in place a strategy, internal strategy, because hiring the right resources and having a right and maintaining them, it's a very overhead on top of your value chain which you belong to. So having said that, first thing first, we go back to the basics and we talk about the mission and vision of your organization. If this digital transformation falls into your vision and mission, then it's important that you take it up on your own and take advice. Versus if it's not like that, you should have a right partner approach, where a partner who can actually expedite your process of adoption. It's important. And the way digital transformation as on date is happening, it's touching each and every stakeholder in an organization. It could be the suppliers, or it could be your customers, or it could be your internal employees, from the top level management till the end of the last mile guys who are actually working on the floor, doing the operations, right? So make sure like you are clear with respect to your mission, your vision, as well as the goals are all set, saying the short term and the long term goals. Uh, uh, then post that, when you have set your objectives and the targets, important things are the drivers, which actually are the technology laden drivers, which make sure that you actually get the advantage as fast as possible. Both the differentiation comes in the form of a competitive differentiation, as well as the advantage that you get being on that side of it. Because there is, I'll tell you, it's more of a competition, because if one of your partner or one of your competitor has taken up some new way or means of it, there's always a thought process in your at an organization level, that how to take over or how to overcome that one. Because if you are not doing it, somebody else is always doing it, right? And the main aim of doing it, it's not as though I say the competition, end of it, it's all boils down to the money. How much cost you are able to reduce, how much revenue are you able to increase. So it can be in the form of a say, it can be in the form of a cost reduction, profit maximization, or maybe which again in turn means that increasing your market share. Which again, the part here is, you have seen that a lot of new companies, new ways of doing things have come up, right? Uh, so these are the things that we talk about. And when this whole setup is done from an organization standpoint, it's important that when I say a digital, don't ever, what we suggest is the ownership of this transformation should always lie with the organizations which are actually driving this. So the operations or the real-time decision making. So the outcome of it should always be defined. It should be time bound, and what exactly you want to in turn want from a process, you have to well define it, and then only you should jump onto this particular process of digital. So I will state a couple of examples as well. So when I say, when you take this real-time decision makings, because uh, there have been a lot of redundancy that you would have identified, which can easily be overcome very easily. Say, for example, a movement of a file, say from one desk to the other desk. If it's a repetitive one, why not we should digitize it and automate it? So it becomes an easy, low-hanging fruit when you identify a task which is repetitive and which is monotonous and repetitive and which doesn't have a lot of complexity in it, right? As well as when you're doing it, you need to make sure that what we suggest is, say as on date there is a movement of one file or a sheet from one desk to the other desk. There is a process behind it. Why exactly this movement is happening? Is it because of some workflow? Is it because of some stakeholders that both the two different desks are? Maybe it could be that from marketing to the finance department, the movement is happening. So when this movement is happening, important is the way digitization is happening. Make sure you capture as much as information around it to make sure that this particular process doesn't fail or there are no exceptions to it. Say the environment could be the timelines that you work upon. Say this particular movement every time happens at the end of the day or maybe 8 o'clock in the morning, right? The times, how many times, how many files, the metadata, get the metadata, because all this become a foundation for your your next level of automation where analytics will be built. So first thing first, automate the process. Second thing is work on those capturing the insights and the information around that particular process as much as possible. Just capture it at the time, the metadata, and the next step will always be going towards the analysis part of it, saying the running of the analytics, say the learning. Can I put a bot which can identify and learn with those with the data that we have captured? It's not just, as I said, movement of a file. So those business insights will come. Then you will be more proactive. Means sometimes this particular process, if it fails, you are more aware that why exactly it fails, and then you can even forecast, saying that if somebody is on leave, what exactly you should do, or maybe if some event is supposed to happen, you can always be more prepared when it comes to attending to that event, right? That's what we are looking at from this particular part of digitization or the process digitalization. Your model will be more predictive, where you should be able to make it more robust and further to that, I have seen like one of the manufacturing unit where I was working, where we were giving the consulting services. Uh, the planning team was having all the tools available with them, where they were able to forecast, they were able to create those plans for the next week and the 2 weeks and the quarter and the year. Annual plannings were able to be done, but this was not in sync with the operations, or maybe the floor operations that were happening, because these two were not in sync. So even if they had plan which is very sound and uh, uh, very intact planning, what we notice is, because the reality check what is happening on the floor, if it's not being fed back into the planning engine in real time, it will all fail. So that's how we look at, and this process is where the technology comes and plays its own game, where what it does is, like, when you need to integrate these two systems, if I speak in the technical terms, that there has to be interface between these two systems. The planning, where you're giving proper feedback mechanism is there, where if something fails, you're able to push the information back, versus the real time updates should be happening to the planning planners too, so that they can tune in and they can correct, they can become, as I said, more proactive and predictive, right? And so there are many ways and means, and in this process, what happens is, all this automation or the digitalization that we talk about has to be properly monitored. So that's the reason I say that it's not that I'm trying to advocate it, but I always recommend that right partner approach is very important. A partner who is aware of uh, how to build a strategy, is very much comfortable with the technology, and is able to talk about the next level of adoption, as well as make sure that it's not that just somebody like, we are trying to enforce the technology on you. It's something that you are able to adopt it. The Then when it comes to adoption, it should not be that so tough to adopt that people that you have a challenge with your operations, right? So and when you're establishing these parts, I'll say the low hanging fruits could be some custom applications. But end of it, I'll say the way what I have seen personally, this is personal view, is the first take on the automation or the digitalization is capturing data as much as possible, because you cannot build your digital strategy on somebody else's data. It can never happen. Or you cannot build your digital strategy on somebody else's intelligence. The intelligence has to come from your processes, your systems, and when it comes, it has to be put in a proper structure, and then it has to be taken in the next level. And the way we have, as I said, like the technology leap has happened. There's nothing cannot be done. There is always a X or a Y or a Z solution that is available, which we can adopt, and we can actually take it through. So as I say, if I go back and if I talk about the right partner approach, so there's another big change that is happening in the technology space, is the cloud adoption, which again, it's not something new, has been there for a long time, and trust me, it should not make a difference to an organization which is not into the software products or software delivery, because for them, whether it's cloud or on premise, it just remains the same. It's whatever is the technology, it should be supportive. It should not be that your whole thing is being driven by technology. So it can be that, like, so when we talk about this thing, so when we try to build that intelligence or the next level of analytics, we try to bring in, yes, of course, the consultants who work from the partner. We evaluate those consultants, means like how much reality, how much domain strength that they have, so that they can relate and correlate with the real scenario that has been there, a problem statement. So because many a times it's not just the software part, sometimes you have to connect with the real world, a real object. Maybe you need to enable, put a IoT device, make sure that that particular physical object is able to speak its status, and that's how it has to be. So that thought process is very important, and when you're doing that, we are living in the world of Teslas, where vehicles move on their own and they have their own intelligence. So the real-time transaction processing, real-time updates are very important to capture as much as possible. And try not to invest. What we say suggest is your investment should be across. There should be short-term goals that you need to achieve versus the long-term goals, and it's worth as on date, because it's not just that technology is just a facilitator. Now the technology has taken over, and it is giving much more edge to the decision making what you do, because through this predictive and proactive models, you can always visualize your next day, how exactly it could be. You can simulate your transactions and operations. So this is where we stand, and very interesting part here is, like, we will continue speaking. I just one slide that I have, which covers a lot of things. What we talk about different organizations, basis of our experiences. What I'll do is, we will be conducting similar sessions in the near future on a weekly basis. Do attend to them, where I am looking at discussing a lot of interesting use cases that we have solved. It covers a lot of things. It covers banking, it covers retail space, it covers the manufacturing side of it, where how to adopt the IoT, say, then how to work the IT and the manufacturing, or IT or the value addition part of it, how exactly these two work together. So there are a lot of things that we are doing here, and do connect with us and do like these feeds, so that you are well informed. There is a new uh, we are publishing a couple of newsletters from our end, basis of our different solutions that we have done. Trust me, last 1 year, once as and when this pandemic is coming off, and businesses are coming back, and they're just going real fast in grabbing up with the law, whatever they lost in the last 2 years. We have so many use cases that I'm sure you will be very, very excited to hear about in the coming times. That's the thing from my end. Signing off. Thank you. Do like our our feed, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.